Okay, Jamie, thanks for your time. And this is your testimonial year for the Broch, so it means you've played for the Broch for 10 years and you've done it over 2 spells. And back in 2008, you signed for the Broch for Aberdeen under 17s. How did you get to that stage in your career up to playing for Aberdeen?
So it started, what my dad always says, I wasn't interested in football to start with, as mere diggers, and then eventually about 6 years old got into football a bit more. And at the age of 7 I ended up going through and having to play for Bridge of Dawn through in Aberdeen, and quite shortly after that Aberdeen were then coming around asking for scouts to come to games and asking me to go to training, so I ended up going to Aberdeen's from, I think it was under 8s through to under 17s in the end, which was great. I then left Aberdeen under 17s, as you say, went to the Longside for a season, played there at 15, and then went to the Broch age 16, basically made my debut. So
was there any other clubs interested in signing you when you signed for Broch?
Yes, so I went to train with a couple of other teams slightly higher, and Highland League was interested, but again with Charlie at the time at the Broch, it felt right that he went for the motto of if you're young enough, if you're good enough, you're young enough. So he was true to his word and was quite a regular from the start, really.
So how long did you sign for the Broch in the first initial?
Was it a 2-year contract, I think it was, to start with, and then my job was changing. I went through the Peterhead apprenticeship, or I was going to go to a Peterhead apprenticeship, and I wasn't sure if I'd be moving away or staying in Aberdeen, so I ended up signing a 6-month extension off the back of that. And then so it would be 2.5 years in total, I think it was.
So you made your debut on the 2nd of August 2008 at Hampton Clark in a 1-1 draw. Do you remember anything about that?
I remember we drew. I think we drew. Finlay will correct me. The first 2 games of the season.
You did, because I've been checking his spreadsheet. And can you name much of the team? Because I've got a list of team here. You've got Billy Gordon, Russell McBride, Mark Dixon, Ryan Christie, Willie West. Willie didn't have as much caps back then, but they're our 400 or 500 caps each. So it's quite an experienced team you'd have.
Yeah. Aye, so it was very experienced. You mentioned Billy there, and then Paul Lees came in not long after, maybe the same season, or season before actually. Lees was from me. But I like Russell, Boomer, you've mentioned a few there, Mark Dixon, it's all testimonial candidates for the Broch. So a very experienced team, very good team. I think we were challenging for the league first couple of years that I was there as well. Expected probably to win it the second year I was there, or be there or thereabouts. I think we came 3rd on goal difference in the end.
Yeah, so you scored your first goal after 16 games away to Brora. Do you remember the goal?
I don't actually know. No. Was you there to video it?
That was before my videos were going out, like, so. Right, so after the Broch you moved to Cove. So was that on a free transfer, right? Once your time?
It was, yeah, so I was out of contract. I started working offshore by that point, and
so does that play a big point in how many games you're getting, because your role is that 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off?
Basically 2 and 3, yeah, and then it went to 3 and 3, so probably half the appearances of what could have been across the various clubs I've been at. So.
And did you move to Cove because you'd a better chance of winning the league with them? Or?
So yes, basically, a lot of people will say it was for money reasons and stuff like that, but if I'm being honest, the money that I went to Cove isn't much or any different to what the Broch was at the time, so it was nothing to do financially, it was all to do with winning the league. The mentality of the club at the time with Cove was to win leagues, so that was my ambition.
Was it 3 years you were at Cove, so you was second and you won 2 league titles with them?
So 2 years at Cove with a second and a first, I think.
Okay, and the Broch were like 6th and 5th, so you probably made the right choice for your career at that time.
At the time, yeah.
And then you moved to Cove to Peterhead, and then they loaned you back out to Cove. How does that work like? So
there was an agreement that I would sign for Peterhead, but because I was challenging for the league, I was to stay at Cove for the remainder of the season, which... So
Peterhead signed you before the season was finished, but they had to keep you at Cove while the league campaign finished, right?
So stayed at Cove, finished the league, won the league, and the agreement was with Peterhead at the time, while I was offshore working, to try and get a job onshore. Okay. And unfortunately it never really worked out, the job onshore, and we agreed that to start off with, the point of going to Peterhead was to try and be there all the time and to work on shore. When that fell through, it was Turriff.
So you moved to Turriff at 2013, I think, was it?
It would have been, yes, because they won a league 2012, 2013.
So what made you move to Turriff? Was that somebody called Baxter that decided to persuade you to go there?
A wee bit, aye, but Turriff have got a fantastic facility. The pitch is really good. The setup's good. They were an up-and-coming team, I would say, probably, although they've been in the Highland League for a few years. They were now starting to make progress within the Highland League challenge, or their ambition was to challenge. And that's every time I signed for a club, I wanted to go to a club that wanted to win the league. Yeah. In Turriff, the way they were heading, were looking like they were wanting to win the league and proving it to some of their signings at the time. A lot of good signings, a really good team, and we kind of came close in the end to Brora one year, coming
second and fourth while you were at Turriff, so that's quite close to winning the league. Yeah. And then back in 2016, that's when you moved back to Brochfire you're still at. And what was the reason for that? Just winning the league mentality again? Yeah,
a lot of it, I wanted to come back closer to home. I'd done a lot of travelling with football, going through to Cove and Turriff to train twice a week. Yeah. I wanted my family to come and watch me play football every time I was at home, and the Broch again was the right place to come back to. They were also winning or looking to progress to win leagues, cups, etc. So again, just to try and get that club that was right fit for me, that was going to challenge every year for at least trophies if not the league.
Was there any other clubs interested you when the Broch were trying to sign you?
Aye, so I've had chances to go to quite a lot of different Highland League clubs, but again, the pool of the Broch at the time was just bigger than any of the other ones.
So since then you've racked up over 300 games now. It was the last game in Inverurie was the 3-3 draw. This last season was your 300th game. Do you remember much about that? Other than their bloody keeper scoring.
Keeper scoring an equaliser and then jumping out for a draw.
95th minute, was it?
But which was unfortunate, yeah.
So what's been your highlight of your career so far?
Highlight of the career with
as in general. Well, start off with your highlight of career with the Broch, probably winning the league, was it?
Highlight of the career with the Broch would be our trips to Ibrox and playing Rangers at home, along with winning the league. I think winning the league was brilliant for the town. You've seen how many folk was here. It was unbelievable. It was probably a better experience winning the league with the Broch because it meant more to the club. Cove are used to winning leagues. For the Broch to win it the first time in however many years.
2002, I think it was roughly. Yeah.
It's phenomenal, and you've seen that by the attendance that was here at Forest in the last game. So I would say winning the league was the best for me. Rangers days were good days out, etc. But you don't get any medals for playing against Rangers, so winning
it's just
the league.
The experience though, is it? Yeah. It must have been a hell of experience turning out to Ibrox with 36,000 fans watching you. Yeah,
so Ibrox is, as you say, an amazing experience. Pitch is a lot bigger than I thought it would be, a lot more running than I thought it would be, maybe. Shuffling across in that midfield, try to keep it tight. But I would say the game here was actually more enjoyable for me, probably because it was a smaller pitch. We could get a little bit closer to them, maybe make it a little bit more competitive in areas, and I think the buzz around the town in 2018 for that game was just incredible.
But even though Rangers beat you 5-0, that's a reasonable score considering they'd already beat Kilmarnock 6-0 and Celtic a couple of weeks before that game 3-0, and they'd beaten Aberdeen 2 or 3-0 as well. So
no, definitely.
It was quite a good
I think
result.
They gave us quite a lot of respect as well with the team they put out. They could quite easily put a weekend team out, but you'll see with the starting lineup they didn't really take too many chances, and I don't think 5-0 we embarrassed ourselves at all.
Although I think their first goal was a foul on Willie West.
I've heard that, and I agree.
I was trying to change shirts before the game finished. Right, okay, back to Highland League. What's your favourite Highland League ground away for the Bellslea?
Away from home, as I've said, probably Turriff. I think the setup at Turriff's really good. I know the pitch has issues at time with the flooding, but I think the overall setup at Turriff's probably the best one and the one I enjoy playing at most.
And who do you think's your biggest rival? You think Turriff's your biggest rival? It's even though, well, now Peterhead's out of the league, Turriff's your closest team, but then the fact that you used to play for Turriff, does that mark them a bit of a rivalry as well? Or?
I don't know. I enjoy playing, well, again, Bucky probably. The couple of years that we were both challenging for the league was good, was enjoyable. The games against Bucky probably one of the greatest for a person to watch. There were a lot of hustle and quick, a lot of probably long balls, second balls, both teams playing the same way, but I would say Bucky's quite a good rivalry.
Okay, and can you remember what your best goal was you would have scored? Or you have scored a few, like, can you?
Probably not. I'll need to see the highlights.
I've only got the last 2 years of highlights, so I'll need to maybe put a few of them up for you. And right, okay, so since your testimonial baseball cup is just going through the 42 SPFL clubs. How many have you been to play?
Where have I played at? We'll need to cut that and then go through some. Pataudry, not going to be that many actually.
We've been at Ibrox last year and Broad and Fourth Bank last year.
I would say it must be just a handful now. 5, 10 maybe.
I can put a caption up once you've decided and you've remembered, once your brain ticks in. How's pre-season training going?
Good.
For next year?
Squad's going good. We've
got a few new additions to the squad because you lost Connor to Australia for a year and Josh has moved to Inverurie, so you've got 3 new guys in.
And unfortunately, Fraser's away to Peterhead as well, so although he's on loan, we're still a good signing to come on loan at the end of last season. We've got Colin Lewis in.
So he's come for Turriff, is he?
Collinson for Turriff, yes. We've got Kieran Lawrence in from Martin, and Lewis has came back to us from Martin as well. So no, looking good. No longer doing the beach runs or anything like that, which is a boost, but a lot of sharp stuff.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much everything. Thanks for your time and good luck in your testimonial next weekend.
Thank you very much. Thank you.